Hello and welcome to Shy Talk, an Irish history podcast. And, there's all kinds of history. There's 16th century history. There's warfare history. There's generational regal history. And then there's the kind of history that we're actually interested in, which is what today's episode is going to be about. We had the wonderful Fiona Frawley on to talk to us about Wezz Nightclub, a sweaty den of teenage wonderment that existed in the early 2000s, and specifically about the time an undercover journalist went in there to do an expose, just like Nellie Bly or someone. But unfortunately for this episode, because of a fuck up on our part, we had to cut it short with Fiona. We could have talked for another 40 minutes about Dublin nightclubs, but it's a fun episode. It's a shorter episode for Friday. You can be listening to this and rethinking of the glory days of teenage discoing. And speaking of, if you want to relive the feeling and general vibe of a teenage disco, we've got one last show for you to come see. We're going to be on in the Wild Duck in Temple Bar next Thursday the 19th of May, and we'll be talking about Mr. James Joyce with Donal Fallon. So if you're interested in that sort of thing, there's a link to the tickets in the description of this episode, as well as a link to Fiona Frawley's social media stuff, which you should go follow. She's just after finishing a run supporting Tommy Tiernan around the place, and she's a regular MC at the Cherry Comedy Club in Whelan's. They're on every Monday night. I think I'm on there sometime in June, but you can go any Monday. They're all almost as good as the ones that I'm at. But that's all down the line. For now, enjoy this episode about the Wezz Nightclub.
Gather around now, you're in for a story. Old tales of lore, all in search of a glory. The history and mystery of lads, lasses and all. Discoveries and voyages, the rise and the fall. Follow me now as we go back in time. We trace the steps of Irish lineage to find Joseph from Carlisle and Kevin and Dog. Guide you through the ways of Shy.
So we're here with Fiona Frawley, who's joining us from a very nice office via the internet.
I know, I'm scared someone's going to walk in and be like, I have this booked. So if that happens, we'll just...
Yeah, we can edit around it. That's the beauty of the internet. But I completely forgot about... Yeah, this is the first episode we've done through the medium of the internet for a while. And we completely forgot how it works.
Yeah. It was only about 5 seasons of the actual podcast.
Yeah, this was our life for about 3 years. But I was saying to Fiona before we started that I went to the shop this morning and they got rid of the plastic guards in front of the till.
Oh, yeah.
It's all finished.
It's cancelled.
We can just start sneezing on cashiers again. It's
Finally.
a thing of beauty. This is what we've all been waiting for. But we're going to talk about... I was trying to find a segue there, and I don't know if I could find something connected to a more diseased... Yes. Being able to...
Where we need to go.
Yes. Easily transmissible diseases flourishing in a dank squalor with zero protection. We're going to be talking about Wezz Nightclub.
Oh, yeah.
This was the subject that you... Did show what... You're from Dublin, Fiona?
Yeah. I'm from Dublin, and so specifically about Wezz, I wanted to talk about the time. It was in 2004, which is the age that I would have been going to Wezz, when an undercover journalist, I think it was for the Sunday World, dressed herself as a 14-year-old girl and went into Wezz to expose what was happening there. I tried to find the article. I don't think it's up anymore.
Yeah,
22 Jump Street.
Yeah. Oh, fully. It's exactly like Jump Street, but with darker intentions, I think.
Because I was trying to find the article as well, and all I could find was references to it.
On boards or whatever.
Yeah, on boards. But so it was. I thought it was a fellow 14-year-old had gone undercover, but it was a journalist. Oh,
Journalist, ladies and gentlemen. Do you remember that from Blind Date? That's for a different episode.
Oh, I've become obsessed with Cilla Black over the last month. I don't know why.
Do you know that iconic thing when the journalist has gone undercover
Yeah.
and Cilla exposes her live on telly in front of everyone? It's incredible. She's a journalist, ladies and gentlemen. She's not a blind dater at all. It's so good.
That's amazing.
Like, that's what 14-year-old me should have done.
She's a journalist. And then all the 14-year-olds who like loved watching Cilla Black's Blind Date, but yes, sick reference. Nice one.
I definitely.
If you were an underage teenage disco, which underage teenage disco would you be, and why?
And why?
And why?
So I have questions. Where is Wezz?
Oh, yes.
Sorry.
So it's in Donnybrook, South County Dublin.
Okay.
Yes. So for anyone outside of the country, that's like the fancy district. D4, Dublin 4.
Yeah. So it's a very posh, affluent part of Dublin. It's in Old Wesley Rugby Club.
Ah.
Yeah.
And definitely, I don't know when it would have started. When I was like 14, 15, which is like 2005, 2006 kind of age, it was like, I would say at its prime. Early to mid 2000s, it was huge. And it was just everyone in the area went. And there was...
But I think by in the area, all of Dublin, like the whole county.
Are you from Dublin, Kevin?
No, see, this is all news to me. But I was talking to my girlfriend yesterday, and she's from Clontarf, and I said what we were doing as the topic, and she was like, "Oh, yes, this is." So even as far flung as Clontarf, they were getting lifts to Wezz.
Oh yeah, you would, because
Southside.
like you knew what was happening, and like you had to go. Like
Yeah.
I'm just looking at photos of it here now.
Don't be looking up photos on my Wi-Fi because I don't want to get
so
cancelled.
the
now.
photos, like there's a photo of like the girls lining up outside, which I think was the header image of this article that the woman shared from going undercover, and everyone in my year was like, "Oh my god, there's me!" Like it was real claim to fame stuff, even though it was like the sordid activities inside.
Yes.
We were like, "There's Orla," like.
Oh,
obviously,
these are
you're
literally
14,
children.
You're not
Of
like young
course.
to be ashamed. But so basically the things I would say, okay, so I'll give a bit more context for the listeners. Like anyone who knows, obviously will know there was like a guy, I don't know, everyone just knows his name. I don't even need to say it. Maybe you guys should leave it.
I think his name's Donny.
Downey, yeah.
Yeah.
And he, like, everyone knew, like, it's him at the door, like, kind of checking whether you should get in or not.
Yeah.
And it's safe to say he's not using the standard age as a meter as to whether you should be allowed in.
No,
didn't
like
factor
very
into
strange.
it.
But like you'd want to be like best friends with him. I feel like that's such, what's the word? Unconsciously incompetent, like teenage girl thing where they think
Okay.
like they can, like, and I definitely did this, probably like go out and like befriend the old men and like get
Yeah.
what they need out of them, but like not knowing like what a dangerous situation they're actually putting themselves into.
Yes.
They think they have the power, but like
Yeah. But my girlfriend was saying the same thing yesterday, in that like it was a badge of honor to be in like Donny's phone as a teenage girl.
yeah.
If he had your number, then he texts you to say like when Wezz was on, which I don't think makes any sense because I assume it was on regularly. It was just on.
Yeah,
Okay,
but
But
whatever.
they're like at that age, you're like, oh my god, yeah, a 6-year-old man has my number. I'm in the it crowd.
So fucking weird.
But now with the hindsight of 2022, it all seems a bit wrong.
Very, very. Like I definitely wasn't like too deeply into the Wezz crew, which maybe is a good thing now, like looking back.
Sure.
I wasn't cool. I wouldn't have been in Donny's phone, let's say.
Yes.
But I obviously remember the whole backlash, or not backlash, but like effect of this article coming out.
Yeah.
So basically, the article contained details such as girls in Wezz. Now, I never witnessed any of this, but like maybe I didn't go that much. I only actually went probably about 4 times or something. I wasn't
Yeah.
like, we're there every single week.
That's it. Start covering your tracks now.
This is just a...
You only heard this from a friend.
Okay, well, yes. Yeah, it wasn't me.
Mhm.
But like, if it was, I'd kind of be like, iconic claim to fame.
Well,
Sure.
I assume like the statute of limitations is past now. How long is it in Ireland?
No, well, maybe actually. Yeah,
Is it like 7 years?
I don't know.
I'm throwing that out there as a number without knowing at all.
7
I feel
years?
like you said it with conviction, so I'm gonna say yes.
That's more of a red flag than like a 6-year-old man taking teenage girls' phone numbers. Like men in their 30s that know offhand the statute of
Knowing
limitations.
and that
It's
is-
just-
yeah.
I have just that information in my wallet. I can just hand it out like a business card to people who question me.
I would off like my star sign.
Oh, well, I'll tell you this. There is no generally applicable limitation period in Irish law. So,
Oh, okay. Statute of limitation seems like a very stupid thing where like if you commit a crime but it was 7 years ago, it's fine.
yeah. I think it's pretty cool, though. It makes for good podcast content.
Wasn't that why it was really hard to convict, you know, the guy George Gibney? This is obviously going off on a bit of
yeah.
a tangent. You know that guy, and it was really hard to like actually convict him because so much time had passed. I don't really know.
Yeah.
Well, a statute of limitation seems like something that like the government would make up. I mean, talk about conspiracy theories. It seems like something the government would make up and just like put into the media so that people would think that, like, it doesn't sound like it's a real thing. Like, you know that thing in American media where a cop has to tell you if they're an undercover cop? They
Yeah.
can't lie to you, which is just a lie, but it's in a lot of films, so people fall for it. Statute of limitation seems like the same thing. Like, it doesn't seem like that would be real, but then you can just trick criminals into confessing to stuff after 7 years in one day.
Yeah, like when a journalist says off the record.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so like I saw this on TV, so it's definitely real.
But so Wesley Nightclub was in or on the grounds of the college. It's probably one of the few.
Of a rugby club.
Oh, sorry, it was in the rugby club of the college.
No, there's a Wesley school, but I think that's separate. To the best of my knowledge, I don't know. That's in like Dundrum kind of area.
But now it looked like an actual nightclub, or was it like a pub that they just turned in?
It was like a hall, you know, like for like 21st or whatever, like that.
Gotcha. Was this in what Richard did?
Oh, I think it was. Or wait, no, did they go somewhere else?
Somewhere cooler like Bondi.
Yeah, Bondi Beach Club. No, maybe it was kind of based on where they're from.
Maybe based on it anyway.
It's a very similar vibe anyway. But so basically what this journalist wrote is so she said that girls who went to Wezz would like wear their underwear around their wrist to like signify that they were, you know, up for whatever. And that guys, now this is very, very disgusting. Maybe this is why the article's not out there anymore. That guys would have like compare what different colored lipsticks was on their nether regions after receiving oral pleasure. But like the reason I think that's a lie, I'm like, girls didn't really wear lipstick at that age. Like it'd be like a gloss, and how can you even differentiate? I'm like, first off, fact checking that.
None of that makes any sense, really.
Yeah.
Because it would all, the colours would smear together. Unless you did like a Dulux colour swatch and lads were just whipping their dicks out. Like, what?
Like all the color swatches would not stay intact.
No.
Like this isn't like a blogger, like eyeshadows. I'm like, that just simply would not.
This sounds like the sort of rumour that would come out of a place where like everyone would want to talk about how much dick sucking they'd experienced, but had never had oral sex in their life.
Yeah, I mean, there was all sorts going on now. Like,
are we saying that we don't believe that there was lads comparing their penises to each other, or are we just saying that we don't think it's for the lipstick reason?
I'd say I'm sure they were. I just think not for the lipstick reason. I think that makes it very like, you know, urban legend.
Yes, yeah.
Like there's a like, you know, real kind of as if anyone's that like ritualistic at that age. Like everyone's obviously like the underwear thing possibly. But
I'd heard that as well. Oh, maybe it was from the article, but yeah, that like
Yeah.
I'd also read accounts from people who went to it, so they'd leave their house in like all long black, covering all clothes, and then as soon as their parents drop them off, just like take
Yeah.
off all the other layers outside and then leave it in the cloakroom. And then there's one woman who was saying that like she lost her cloakroom ticket, so she had to get picked up in her Wezz.
Oh no.
The worst case scenario. But
That's so unfortunate.
But how, yeah, imagine it like the parents dropping off your 14-year-old children to this place and you just see like a horde of teenage girls taking off their underwear and tying it onto their wrist.
I know. I'm like, it was like outside the garage across the road. So I'm like, it's hardly discreet. Like,
That's what I'd heard. Yeah, it was outside the garage across the road. Yeah, so it's like some parent is just stopping in to fill up on fuel after dropping their teenagers off. It's like, well, I wonder where all these children are going. I hope not to the same place.
they must be going somewhere else, not where my little queeve is off. Yeah.
Going to the Wesley College.
Was the underwear around the wrist thing, that's actually true? That's not urban
I
legend?
don't know. I mean, I think it seems more feasible than the lipstick thing.
You would think you'd look at a different kind of wristband. You could use something else.
You could. I don't honestly, you know what? I don't think there was any really need to use anything at all.
No, you could. Your actions speak louder than wristbands.
Yeah, really, honestly, it was going down. So like, I don't think like, I think she probably just needed to zhuzh up the article a bit. Like, it wasn't enough to be like they are fingering the fuck out of each other. It was like, you need to make out like they're doing something like, you know, sacrificing lambs in there, and like, you know,
There needs to be a ritualistic aspect to it.
yeah. I'm like, we weren't that creepy, but yeah, so I mean, that was her. And I guess after that, a lot of people weren't allowed to go to Wes anymore by their parents, or like there would have been like tighter policing on the like they would really be checking what you're wearing, you know.
Sure, yeah. Which, I mean, it is funny again to think of like parents have to dropping off their children for weeks and weeks and months to where there's streams of just half dressed. Like, and then they read the article and suddenly put two and two together. That's the same place.
Everyone knew, like,
Yeah.
but like, I guess almost because where it was and it was like deemed posh or something.
Yeah.
Like kids were still allowed to go, which is just like Dublin in a nutshell. I think like it's so stupid.
This all makes me feel like really sheltered as a child.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I don't think we would have even gone to teenage discos at this stage, at 14.
It's not. Where are you from?
Carlo.
Carlo.
And like the country as well.
Oh, are you? Okay. And was there any like teenage disco, GAA disco?
No GA discos, nothing like that. I imagine maybe in Carlo Town when you're like 15, something like that. But I remember even like the fucking like junior results night of being the first, like, oh, we're inside and there's music and the lights are kind of dark.
I have loads of family in like very rural West Cork, and I used to like spend a lot of time in there when I was younger, and I like definitely noticed there was no teenage discos, but it was almost like once you went 16 you just started going to the regular pub.
Yeah.
Everyone in the town obviously knew each other, so everyone, including the bar staff, would know that you were underage, but it's like, who else is going to come? The 16 and 17 year olds like mainly populated the club, apart from a few older like stragglers. So it was like they kind of can't say anything. If they don't let underage people in, there'll be no business almost.
They'd have to close down their seedy nightclub.
Yeah.
And then where would we be?
But like, I know that down the country it's kind of a thing where an area will find one bar that all of the underagers go to.
Yes.
So then the other bars don't have to worry about underage.
Yeah, that was the same in Dundalk, but the way you described it there was almost noble.
I think it is.
I
I
think
volunteer tribute.
the Vinters Association gets everyone together and they just assign every few years someone to the underage pub. They take a hit for the team.
Because it's such a risk, though, if anything went wrong.
Yeah.
They have a pub full of like 100 underagers,
Yeah.
all drinking
Yeah,
ahead of themselves.
exactly. And like obviously the guards in the town would know.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
They did nothing like, you know.
Well, you're right, because I mean, in a sense, there is like you're better off having them drinking pints in a pub than drinking in a field.
Yeah, I never would have heard as much field drinking from like the people my age down there either. There was no drinking outside. I feel like they just went straight to.
Oh no, we had that.
Yeah, and that's
Yeah, we had the outside drinking.
yeah. Now I was starting to feel like I'd missed out on a childhood with all these stories of debauchery in Wales, but you never drank in a field, Fiona. It feels like you never lived.
Oh, I drank in many fields. Like there was plenty of field drinking in Dublin, but I just mean,
where are we even finding fields?
I'm from
Phoenix Park?
Shankill, which is like basically Wicklow kind of. So a lot of estates with like, you know, greens and woods and stuff. So there was plenty of places.
Fair enough.
And
I
know.
I like Kevin's justification of, because like it's meant to be, you'd rather them to be drinking at home than out in the pub, so we can keep an eye on them. And now you're like, we'd rather them to be drinking in the pub than out in the field. Well, better be in a field than down by the river.
Better in a field than in Wezz Nightclub. So Shankill's like Dunleary area, is it?
Yeah, a bit further out than that.
Is there surely must be a butcher's there to capitalize on, like the Shankill butchers?
No.
Oh.
But they're actually, there's nothing like that. Because I remember when I used to say I'm from Shankill, people would always be like, which Shankill? Because in Shankill in Dublin, there's also a Falls Road, but it's like...
No way.
Yeah, but it's really posh with like massive houses.
Well, I know what we're doing after this episode. We're going on a road trip.
Yeah, definitely. It's like, you know, gated houses. Do you know what I mean?
Oh.
Mad. But yeah, no, I wonder which one came first, actually.
Yeah. I took, because there's also a Shankill in Monaghan, I think, somewhere.
But so now tell me this journalist went undercover as a 14-year-old.
Yeah.
Would they not have just went as a 16 or 17-year-old?
But what people really wanted to know was about the 14-year-olds.
Yeah.
Because everyone was a bit sick, obviously. Like there was an older Wezz. It was called Little Wezz and Big Wezz, I think, if I remember.
You know, you're right. But it was definitely Little Wezz was the younger one.
Yeah, so that was 14, 13, 14, 15. You're getting a bit old to be there. Big Wezz was like... Love. Yeah. Big Wezz was getting...
And were they drinking?
You'd have to drink before, like there'd be no drink inside.
Oh, okay.
So you'd be hoping you'd be allowed to get the bus, because like that would mean like you could drink on the bus. I was never allowed. See, I was the oldest child, so like I kind of got away with nothing.
Yeah.
And then when my sister was going, she was allowed to get the bus all the time. Do you know there's like one person in the family who's just kind of smart and like gets away with everything, and then there's like one dumb bitch who...
I was the same. I was the dumb bitch and the oldest. And but it's such a funny thing looking back at it now. You're like, I wasn't allowed away with anything. Like, you know, I remember these conversations that I have with my parents. I'm like, do you not trust me? Like, I'm just going out to it's a band, and there won't be any drink or drugs or anything, and like you just stone-faced lying, and they know you're lying, and you know you're lying. But
that was my tagline. Do you not trust me?
Do you not trust me? And that's such a snaky
drama of that.
That's such a terrible thing to say to your parents, because like no, and you're lying, and you know you're lying. You shouldn't be trusted. But you're still trying to emotionally blackmail them.
Yeah, exactly.
Jesus, we're teenagers are scumbags.
Oh, I know. That's what I'm always like. Teenagers are so scary. They've absolutely no conscience or empathy. Like you'd sell your granny for like a nagging of blends.
Yeah.
Not a good time.
I've been teaching teenagers. I was actually I was in Sallynoggin yesterday.
Oh yeah, so not far from me.
Yeah. It's just fascinating to see. There's always like edgy references to 9/11. Even though these kids are born. No, 6 years off of it. They were all like 2004, 2000. In the years when you were going to Wezz, they hadn't been born yet.
Oh my God, stop. I
know
about that.
Yeah, but they're making like edgy jokes to 9/11 and even ISIS. You're like, no one's heard about ISIS in like 6 years. I don't know where they get these things from, but
I think you're just shock factor at that age.
Yeah, but it's also funny to be like, they think it's really shocking. It's like, I've heard these jokes 20 years ago. Like these already...
like 9/11, not a new
Yeah, it's not exactly edgy material. But was there any aftermath to the Wezz thing? Like they didn't close down? If anything, probably more people wanted to go.
Yeah, more people wanted to go. The news really traveled, especially say for people who weren't in that area, but like their kids wanted to go to Wezz. Like say, I remember, do you know Niall Farrell, who used to do comedy? He had a bit about this because he was from Swords. So like, I mean, Wes would obviously be a bit of a pilgrimage for him. But like his parents had definitely heard about like the knickers on the wrists thing. Because I guess the further you go, the more like sensationalized it
Of
gets.
course.
Even though it is a newspaper accessible to everyone in the same like.
But for some reason, as it travels out, it just gets more distorted.
I never was like disallowed. I'd say there was like a few parents association meetings about it, but no, like I guess it's just a funny thing that happened.
How much was it to get in? How much was a ticket, or how was Wes making money if no one was drinking there?
Yeah, would it have been a $5 or something? And you had to have a Wes card.
Yes.
And like you couldn't just get one. Like you'd have to try and get one off like the girls in the year above you and stuff. Like it was a bit exclusive in that way. You couldn't just go.
Yeah, my girlfriend was saying that they called out. Was it at the event? And they'd call out by the schools. Yeah, it was a postcode. Yeah, so you needed to be from certain areas or be going to certain schools, and then they'd all get called up and given their Wes cards.
Yeah, because I remember I think I eventually got my Wes card, and it was like you need to write down your postcode, and I was like, I don't know what my postcode is. I'd never like done that, and they were like, well, you have to know now. Yeah, mine's Dublin 18, so shit. Like, if it went like New Yorkly, I'd be like not let into the following morning.
Sure, yeah.
But we're talking about hundreds of people then, I take it.
Yeah, queuing up outside. And yeah, it definitely was like called by schools, called by postcodes. Bizarre.
Well, it's the same with the copper gold card.
Oh, yeah.
Have you heard the legends? I don't know how you get them. I think it is sort of like you need to be...
Oh, I knew lads who had them during college.
I've met a few people that have had them, but I think it's almost like...
I've got in as the +1 with them before. It is literally, they're literally gold dust. Like I would never go to coppers now, but like back then you're like, oh, it's just free in whenever you want to go.
You have to wait till someone dies to get one.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It is. There's only a finite amount of them.
And like, what did your friends do to get them?
I know one of them worked in a pub near. I shouldn't actually say the area. One of them worked in a bar.
I like that we'll like openly name Donnie. Really, like as soon as we start talking about how to get the gold cards, that's retracted.
That's behind paywall kind of talk.
Yeah.
No, just one of the lads worked in a bar where the owner drank or the manager drank. So he got a couple of them because he gave one to one of the other lads, and people would sell them at the time for like you're talking like. What, like 500 quid, $1,000?
Yeah. But at even a 500 quid, that's only like, 50 trips to coppers in your life, and then you're making money.
Yeah, which for a lot of people, that's are actually
a no-brainer.
But for some people, they would go there from the age of, say, like 20, all the way to 21, all the way through to like 40.
Yeah, and sure, it's open 7 nights, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, did you ever go into like this, it's like the club within the club? You know, when like coppers is closed and then there's like the residence bar.
We don't talk about that.
Sorry, that's also, we can't talk about that.
I'm glad you don't know anything about anything like past the gold card.
Yeah.
About the platinum, the crystal.
Pyramid scheme of coppers.
Yeah. I just remembered, I forgot to say about Donny that his wife was Carmela.
Donny and Carmela. Oh my God.
It's fucking like The Sopranos.
Literally.
Yeah, this is the same reaction my girlfriend had yesterday. I was like, so Donny and Carmela, the two.
God, yes.
This is blowing 14-year-old ears.
He definitely renamed herself Carmela.
100%. They might like. I'd say that reference was going because the Sopranos would have been at its height in like 2004, and that reference was definitely going over all the teenagers.
Yeah, I didn't have a clue what the Sopranos was back then, but now.
No.
But so tell us the night of it. Then you said you were there that night.
I think I was. I don't know. Yeah, I honestly don't know, but I was going at that time.
This is like how people claim to have seen U2 back in the Dandelion Market.
Exactly.
Yeah. I was there when the undercover journalist went to Wez.
Yeah.
But like, has anyone have you talked to anyone who claims to have been there or have like met the journalist? Because it must have been pretty obvious.
I don't know if anyone says they met the journalist, but like girls in my year were in the picture that was used like at the header of the article. They're like, "There's my Uggs and leg warmers."
Oh, fuck, I forgot about Uggs.
It is a great. It's a nice letdown though for like the lads who get rejected when they go up looking for the shift. That she's like, no. She's like, she's probably an undercover journalist, is what it is.
Oh, God. That's so
Yeah,
I read on like boards or whatever it was today that the journalist was apparently 19, but I definitely remember at the time people saying she was closer to 24. But like I could just be remembering things now, to be honest.
she probably wrote that into her own story to be like,
Yeah, she's like, I was only 19.
I was only 19.
That would have been a tough job for the night of going in and just it would have been 16-year-old drunk lads just non-stop. Just up.
I think she was dying to go in. I'd say they were like, and she's like, no, I will really go into West. They're probably like, no, we don't need anyone to go into West.
she went deep undercover for 6 months. I think we've covered all the basics. I was just going to talk about other nightclubs in Dublin then.
Or some of the clubs around the country, like the country's best nightclub.
Oh,
consistently voted.
And which is that?
I already know where he's going with this, and I can guarantee that you will not have heard of it. But
we're going down to the county of the scallion eaters.
He's talking about the Foundry, Carlo's one and only nightclub. Had you ever heard of the Foundry?
No, but do you know what? I was actually just saying this to someone last night. When I was in about like 3rd class, 4th class, we all had to do, everyone in the class, a project on a county, and we all got given a county, and I got Carlo.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, and how'd you stretch that out?
I definitely had a little folder of stuff, but I can't remember anything that was in it. But I remember
it was the capital of Ireland in the 1400s.
Yeah, I definitely had that in it.
Yeah, who know? Like even the people at Carlo don't know about that. He says that like every couple of weeks, but like if only that the biggest thing that happened to Carlo was that postman.
Yeah, until that hadn't happened yet back then.
Let's put Carlo on the map.
Some nice walks, would there be?
There's some good walks down by the River Barrow.
Yeah.
The Barrow track. Pretty good.
That's not like a claim to anything.
Well,
you can walk in every county. That's like the only thing you can do.
You got the Foundry. People in there can barely walk.
That's true.
Tell us about the Foundry.
It's part of the Dinry complex. So when you'd have like the big bank holiday nights, or just when they open up all the venues, I think they call it like the 5 venues. Maybe it's the 6 venues now. Different theme in all of them. Some of them are just a smoking area, but that's still an extra venue. It's huge though. That's like people would travel from Cork, Dublin, all over down to Carlow. It gets like it holds like
I refute that claim, but go on.
It's fucking massive. It's huge. It was only the right venue was the only other one that was bigger than it.
The right venue would stress me out. It was way too big.
Foundry's kind of like that.
With even Coppers you get lost. Like there's too many floors when you're drunk and you're trying to like meet up with your friends. The right, Did you ever go to the right venue? It's closed now, isn't it?
Yeah, I would have gone there a few times. That would have been like for a big night, like if there was like some work party or something.
Like if you want to see Little John.
Little John.
I saw Little John there.
No way.
Oh my god,
he had to play a collection of all of the songs that he says because he doesn't own the rights to the full song. So it's like
that was always
mash it all together.
They were always the best nights. But like every once in a while, like in Dundalk, we had Ridley's and Silence, 2 nightclubs to choose from.
Ooh.
But you know, like every once in a while, we're like, something like Little John and Wright's venue, or like the people from The Only Way is Essex playing in Dundalk, where it's clearly their promoter or tour manager hasn't done their research and hasn't realized how small of a venue they've just accidentally booked these people for.
I have to go. Sorry. So
that's grand.
Because like what you're saying, I want to talk about more, but I better go.
Yeah. Well, listen, thanks a million. And if you want to plug anything,
I'll just say Cherry Comedy every Monday night at Whelan's.
Excellent.
Well, guys.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Thanks for coming on.
I'll talk to you later.
All right. Good luck. Well, Fiona had to run off and go back to work
with a real job.
For a real job. But we pretty much finished with. I was just going to start ranting about the Dublin nightlife scene when we were in college. Say what you will about the recession, you know, thousands had to emigrate, thousands lost all their financial savings, people are still in debt over it. Really scarred the nation for generations. It was class time to be in college.
It wasn't a bad time.
You know, everything was cheap.
D2,
Yokes for $5.
Try to think of what I wasn't doing that in college. See,
but forget about D2. Like you remember like the warehouse raves and stuff that'd be in the city centre?
See, no,
No.
I don't. We had very different college
Yeah.
experiences. Again, I was fairly sheltered.
Well, like the then and Rogers' Key. I don't know, like the old O2 buildings and stuff. I remember we started going to Lost Society.
I remember that.
Yeah, on it's Farrier and Draper now, a very fancy upmarket cocktail place, which is a far cry from the Scoldy venue it used to be.
Where was that? Was that the same place where Cunt was?
No,
for our American listeners, that
it was called
Cunt.
Yeah, it was a night called See You Next Tuesday. I was talking about this yesterday.
Huge stamps. The stamp was the size of your whole forearm,
and
the stamp just said "cunt."
Yeah, C.U.N.T.
Yeah,
it
was amazing though to see that.
Yeah,
like all the kids the next day in college just going to like tertiary level education, trying to make the best of themselves. Huge. Trying to talk to your lecturer, like the head of your whole class. It's
the sort of thing that would be seen as problematic now, but back then was just good, clean fun,
family fun.
That was in Tripod, was it, or Crawdaddy?
Crawdaddy, maybe.
Which was all the same complex.
Possibly. I was in Tripod during Arthur's Day, actually.
Oh, yeah.
Which we will do an episode about that.
We don't have time for that.
Yeah.
I used to get into Tripod because there was a guy who looked like me. Basically, the first time I went down there, your man was like, "Oh, it's yourself. You're here all the time," and then let me walk in. And I don't know who that guy was, but he really made my life easy for like my first years in college. But Lost Society on a Wednesday night. You used to go to that. It was like a dubstep night, and then everyone from the party would go back to like an after session where you paid a guy a $5 and you went into his apartment building, and it was like a basement apartment, and it was just the like looking back at it now, it was extremely scoldy.
He charged everyone a $5.
Yeah.
How many people would be there?
Oh, like 30 people, 40 people.
Nice.
But it was in the basement of an apartment block, and you could get away with these after parties because you had no neighbors.
Yeah.
And in retrospect, like I'm pretty sure that was on Leeson Street. So the idea of an empty apartment block in the city, like it was in walking distance of George's Street anyway. And like, it's insane.
Phenomenal.
Yeah. So that's what there is. It was basically a ghost town. So we're going to blue ghost town.
Oh, you see, I didn't really have much of that. And then I know of a man who down the country used to throw like raves, like parties basically in empties.
Yeah.
Because I guess it was a time, recession time, when people weren't going out to the nightclub and doing that. But he was probably 4 or 5 years older than me, so I missed out on everything.
Okay.
Yeah, and then some like nightclubs, obviously the Foundry, like I talked about.
Yeah.
And that's like a good exposure to nightclubs, but never like the Berlin level. And I wasn't like off me head on like a load of yokes when I was like 18 through 22. I didn't do any of that really.
Yeah.
Until 22.
And look at you now.
Look at me now.
Yeah. My favorite story about Lost Society is because it was like a rite of passage when you'd be going there to like sit inside the speaker. It's no wonder I have tinnitus now. Like you'd be putting your head inside of a speaker and just getting it blown off you.
It was I remember your man who used to play saxophone there.
Yeah,
he was deadly.
He was deadly. But a friend of mine lost her passport there once, and then like the next morning, you've got the fear, you're in the horrors. And she tried to ring them up, and she used like 11811 or whatever to call into the Law Society, and they put her through to the Law Society, like or all the Legal Society of Dublin. And they answered the phone, and she was like, "I left my passport in there the other day," and they're like, "Who let you in here?" And she just thought it was classic bouncer.
Banter.
Just banter. And she, when you're hungover, and she just thought they were slagging her, and they're like, "Oh, you guys let me in." Like, no, we didn't. I was like, you did. I was there last night. I lost my passport. I was like, I'm pretty sure that you weren't. And then that went on for about 3 minutes before she realized it was the wrong number.
Amazing.
Yeah.
The what's the nightclub in Dundalk again?
Ridley's.
Or
Silence.
Silence. What about Brewbakers?
Yeah, Brewbakers not really a nightclub.
Has a dance floor.
Has a dance floor now, yeah, but it's more a late bar.
Okay, well, I'm just saying it has a dance floor that has lights.
Yeah. It didn't back then. There was another one called. I was trying to look it up there. It was like Mr. B's Good Time Special Place or something.
Super happy fun time.
Mr. B's Super Happy Fun Time, because we kind of got the best of both worlds. in that when we were teenagers, there was nightclubs and extravagance everywhere because it was the Celtic Tiger. And then when we were in college, there was the squalor and misery of like the underground music scene. And now there's just nothing, only hotels.
Yeah.
You can't do anything.
Yeah, we need another good recession
Yeah, that's what this.
to get some empties on the go.
Yeah.
Actually, look, we're probably on the way to one now. We can start throwing the parties.
Yeah, that'd be class. Having a load of scoldy bastards back to your gaff. Like, I remember that apartment. Because I'd never been exposed to anything like that, I just thought that, like, oh, this is normal. But now looking back, and it was just like a load of people like sitting on, mattresses on the ground. There was no furniture in the place. And there was like a TV, there was like a camera facing the door that linked to a TV that was under the counter. So your man was like watching for raids. It was just people.
It was a drug house then, obviously.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But at the time I was like, this is what after sessions are like in the city.
You shouldn't do that. No.
No. It's the sort of place now. If I walked into, I would like
just leave.
Yeah, I called my parents to pick me up at like 30. But
do you have something to tell me about your man from Copperface Jacks? Not your man giving out free gold cards.
I know.
Did he shoot someone? Did he used to duel people?
Yeah. Well, Coppers, for anyone uninitiated, is the biggest nightclub. It's kind of synonymous with nightclubs.
Yeah, in terms of Dublin nightclubs, it'd be the. If you go to a new city and you were asking someone before you went up on stage, you're like, oh, what's the biggest nightclub here? I want to make a nightclub joke or reference. Coppers would be the only one.
It's the only one. But it's sort of not ironic. Yeah, but it's seen as a country. Like, it's the biggest nightclub in Dublin, but it's seen as a country nightclub.
Yeah, it's where nurses go to meet their future Garda husbands.
Yes, yeah. It kind of is a stereotype of just being like, it's where all the country folk, when they're moving to Dublin, there's legends of Coppers. Like, it's the place for going out every day of the week, getting the shift. I don't think Dublin people would really go to it as much. It would be seen as what they would refer to as boggers.
Dublin GAA heads would.
Yeah, well, yeah, they go in there. Like, when we were talking about the gold card earlier on, I think that's one of the surefire ways to get it is to play a county.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah,
yeah. But it was opened by a former guard.
That's just a good rule of thumb for like life. Just
you want
to just play county.
If you're figuring out how to get access to anything in the country, just play county. If you start for county, surefire. But yeah, so it was owned by a former guard himself, Cathal Jackson. Like, it's like some stereotypes are true.
Yeah.
But for an idea of how big this thing is, like, they made a musical about it. As like a smash hit musical.
Yes.
Have you seen it?
Coppers.
You did go see it, did you?
No, I didn't. No. I mean, I would like that. I guarantee you, it's probably fine.
Oh yeah. It's there. Someone I know was in it. Maybe, I don't know. Anyway, it was huge. That was a couple of years ago. But the nightclub itself, do you remember? It went up for sale, I think, before the pandemic. And do you remember? There's all these rumors circulating around that like the cloakroom made $3 million a night. I remember people telling me with a straight face, being like, "Sure, fucking, if you bought that, the cloakroom, $1 million a night, easy."
Realistically, probably like £1,000 at least, like 2,000.
I'm looking at a thing here that says in 2013 the club's profits were estimated at 15 grand a day.
Yeah, I could see that easy.
Yeah, in 2013, like height of the recession.
Easy.
Yeah, it's packed. It's giant.
It's mad expensive. It's between 5 to 10.
It's not mad expensive. It's probably just enough. It's quantity over quality.
What do you mean?
At that time in 2013, it was probably like a $5 in.
No, it was a $5 during the week, and then weekends was 10.
Sure, who'd be going at the weekends? That's
country people.
That's for sergeants and doctors. I go when it's guards and nurses.
When country people come up from the country. So when they come up to this big smoke at the weekend to have a big night out in Coppers to go find their future wife.
You'll see lads, it's like coming off the boat at Ellis Island. You'll see lads pulling up at Bus Aris. Brown boots, freshly ironed jeans, nice shirt with pop collar.
Boot cut jeans.
Boot cut jeans, load of gel in the hair, and they're just like straight up to the information desk, ask where Coppers is. And then hop onto a Dublin bus and ask them to bring them to Coppers.
Now, it changed the Dicey's a little bit. I know I'm going to say this, I don't know if Dicey's has gone back to their cheap drinks, because it's always been for our American listeners, or anyone who ever visits Ireland. Hopefully it's gone back to the old way. The old way was every day of the week until 10 p.m. It would open at about 4 until 10 p.m. Then it was €2 drinks, apart from when it would be on specials, and then sometimes it'd be 150 drinks.
Yeah.
That was a great time.
It was
full
insane.
of Brazilians.
Yeah.
Just
Still is, they say.
It's like the embassy, though. It's like the Brazilian embassy.
Yeah. You get, when you get your visa, you get a free ticket to Dicey's. But Coppers was named after a man called John Scott, apparently, who was sometimes known as Copper-Faced Jack, which is the full title for Coppers.
Mm-hmm.
And he was called that because he was a big fan of drinking, and he had a copper complexion, which probably means that he just had a disease.
That's definitely a disease, because if you drink too much, you go red.
Yeah. And he was seen as like a...
Yellow in the eyes, maybe.
He was around in the 1700s, and he was seen as like, you know, the epitome of gluttony, and he was supposed to be a big, large man who drank and ate an awful lot. There's no way... Like, you probably wouldn't even notice him these days if he was walking down the street. There's no way you could drink yourself to a state in the 1790s that would be in any way noticeable in our... Ireland was recently revealed to be, I think, the second most obese country in the EU.
Is that because England's gone now?
Yeah. Well, actually, it might have been in Europe, and England might have the top spot. But, yeah, it'd probably be hard to pick out Copper-Faced Jack from a lineup now.
No, that'd probably be fair. Unless he was really outdoing himself.
Maybe, but even then, I don't think with what you had to hand at the time, it'd probably be impossible.
Potatoes and pints.
Yeah.
Nah.
Yeah, probably not even in ready enough supply. But yeah, he probably had some sort of horrible disease that meant his face was yellow. And now, all these years later, he's the name of a nightclub.
Yeah.
Fair play to him. That's all we can all hope to aspire to.
How did he die?
Horribly, I would imagine.
Yeah.
Painfully.
Shot in the face.
Shot in the face. Yeah, I don't know. He was sick though as well. He died at age 56. I'm reading along. Is a statement he made shortly before he died, saying, "My dear Val, I have been a fortunate man in life. I am Chief Justice and an Earl, but believe me, I would rather be beginning the world as a young chimney sweep." That's from a man who's never worked a day in his life.
Yeah.
That's from him. That's like one of the most probably affluent and blessed men in a very rough period in Irish history. Like, you don't know the struggles of being very rich. You chimney sweeps have it easy with your life expectancy of 6. Oh yeah, this is like a crossover fact because John Philpott Curran used to slag the shit out of him.
Yup.
Yeah. So he was a contemporary.
What was he saying?
He said, "You're fat."
Nice.
Yeah.
John was always good with the words.
He was a wordsmith. Yeah. But so there you go. Next time you're getting the shift in Coppers, spill one out for old John Scott. Spill one out, and then someone will immediately sweep it up with a mop. Because that's what they do there.
Well, I'll tell you this. Do you remember, before we go, do you remember Sin Nightclub?
Vaguely.
It used to be a big nightclub in Temple Bar, and the reason I bring that up is because it's now the Wild Duck, where we will be playing this week, whenever you're listening to it, for our
Thursday, the 19th of May.
Yeah, 100 episode special, the 3-year anniversary of the first episode ever been released.
Oh, yeah.
Donal Fallon of being a famous class historian fame.
That's the one.
3 Castles Burning as well.
Yep.
Come Here to Me.
The blog, yeah.
All his books. All of his books
that he wrote.
He does be on News Talk, I believe, with Gavin Riley doing the history bits.
He's on RT's new show Brainstorm. You might be seeing him on that. But where you can definitely see him is in the Wild Duck on Thursday the 19th.
Yes, on stage with us.
And we'll be talking about James Joyce.
The James Joyce.
The very one. There'll be a link in the description for this episode. You can click on that. You can buy a ticket. It's €18. That includes all the fees. And you get a free pint.
Yes, a pint of Madri.
Yeah.
The Spanish beer, which is very nice. And if you are going to Google where to find the tickets, just type in Shite Talk Garden Gigs.
Yes.
And then other than that, sure, look, we'll see you there. And then we'll be chatting to the rest of you next week.
Yeah. All right. Good luck.
Shafter.